Tu m'entends? Ok. Okay. So today we will talk about Grothendieck ring and Frobenius parent dimension. So there already exists a notion of Grothendieck notion for abelian category. It's called the Grothendieck group. So I will recall the notion of Grothendieck group, and then the Grothendieck ring will be given by one extra rule given by the tensor product. So Grothendieck rule for the direct sum and Grothendieck ring with direct sum and tensor product. So first, what about the Grothendieck group? So recall. Let's see, be an abelian category. So you start, so you can define Grothendieck group for any abelian category and Grothendieck ring for any multi-ring category, I guess. Ring category. So start from an abelian category. So let's recall the notion of finite length. So an object X has finite. So I already defined that, but we will need that explicitly. So I recall that here. If there is a sequence called the filtration zero n minus 1 xn equal x. So we call that this symbol mean sub-object. Sub-object is not necessarily a subset. It's a categorical notion. Such that xi x minus 1 is simple. Again, this notion is a categorical notion. It's not a quotient of set. It's a categorical. So we already defined that. One is given by monomorphism, the other by an epimorphism, etc. So, so the Jordan-Holder so the sequence of simple object let's say Si equal xi over xi minus 1 are independent of the filtration which always exists up to isomorphism and up to permutation. So there is always. So this is saying that for any object, there always exists such a filtration, such a sequence with a simple quotient like that here. And moreover, for any two sequence like that, the sequence of simple objects given here are the same up to permutation and up to isomorphism. But when you say up to permutation, you allow multiplicity, of course. So multiplicity with multiplicity. By multiplicity, I mean you can have several times the same simple object up to isomorphism. Okay, and in fact, let X S be the multiplicity of S in the above sequence Si. So then we don't need to specify with multiplicity because it's implicit by this definition. Okay, so now, you have if I give you an object and a simple object, you can get a number, a natural number, the multiplicity of S in the Jordan order sequence of X. Okay, so exercise. Of course, everything is up to isomorphism. So if, yeah, it's almost trivial, but need to be careful. If you have two isomorphic objects, then XS equal X prime S. For some S. For any simple object S. Of course, if S is not here in this sequence, then the multiplicity is 0. So you can define that for any object and any simple object. Okay, so so definition. So let C be an abelian K-linear category where the object has finite length. Then you can define the first step of what we want. The first step is, I mean, the Grothendieck group. So let Grothendieck group be the Grothendieck group so the group, the abelian group freely as abelian group generated by the simple object up to isomorphism. Simple object. So now with the simple object, we call the simple object xi. So it's here we call the simple object si. But this was the specific for this. This was specific for this object x. But and we called in this sequence we called xi here. But you don't be confused now. We are out of this now xi will denote all the simple objects up to isomorphism. So they are not the same xi from here. I just wanted to have the same notation than in the book. Okay, so so you denote all the simple objects up to isomorphism. Up to isomorphism. You denote it by xi like that, and you consider the abelian group generated by the free abelian group generated like that. Yeah, so it's okay. And so for all x, for any object, you define an element in this Grothendieck group as follows. So x is the sum, so I in I, or I in I, of that xi. So the multiplicity of the simple object xi in the Jordan order sequence of x times xi. So it's you can add like that because you are in a kind of abelian group. So yeah, so you can define an element in this Grothendieck group for every object. Okay. So you have a Grothendieck group, and now we are interested in another operation in this set given by the tensor product. So for that exercise, so if you have a short exact sequence, exact, then you have this. In particular, so the trivial case, so the direct sum. If you make a direct sum, then I don't know how to call how to put a name for that. Anyway, so this is coherent with the direct sum. But in fact, if the category is not semi-simple, you can have extension. We mentioned that yesterday, which are not direct sum, but still, when you go to the Grothendieck group, it's a sum. So in fact, in some sense, the Grothendieck group I don't know, is like, it's like if the category is semi-simple. If you apply the Grothendieck group, everything in some sense become semi-simple. It's not exactly that, but everything works as for the direct sum. Every extension works as a direct sum. Okay. So now what about Grothendieck ring? So the multiplication. So multiplication on GR of C. So of course now C must be more than an abelian category. So let multiplication, let C be a multi-ring category. Multi-ring category over field K. So let xi be the simple object of C up to isomorphism. So I always write up to isomorphism, but as I already said several times, this is shorter to write that, but the correct way to write it, you should say, let xi be the set of isomorphism class representative of simple object, etc. So up to morphism mean isomorphism class representative. It's more elegant to be up to isomorphism, I guess. So yeah, okay. So the tensor product induce a multiplication on the Grothendieck group. So as follow. So X, so you are in the Grothendieck group, is equal to, so it is, the Grothendieck group is generated by the simple object of isomorphism, so you don't need to, in fact, so you have, for the simple element, you have xi equal xi by definition, but anyway. So multiplication, so like that, make the tensor product of xi and xj, and you map it to the Grothendieck group. So this is the sum for k in I of like that. Xk. And yeah, so I, j also in I. So you have, this is this multiplication. So so this is so remark. Such multiplication is called fusion rule. Fusion rule. So such this notation from physics for example, so to understand what's the meaning, so there is a relation between fusion of particle in physics and fusion rule. In fact, I should not go into too much details, but so in particle physics, an elementary particle is encoded as an irreducible representation of a group. And the decomposition, so how to say, the collision of two particles decompose into other particle. This is given by the tensor product of irreducible representation. So you have elementary particles are given by irreducible representation, and the collision of two particles, when you are in an accelerator particle, is decomposed into other particles, and this decomposition given by the tensor product of the irreducible representation. So that's why the collision of particles, you can call that a fusion if you want. So that's why the name of fusion. Anyway, so etc., etc. So this is not in the book. So this is in the book up to here. Then I explain a bit more. Anyway. Okay, so so second remark. And in fact, maintenant. And if you have how to say that? So if you can still meet fusion rings not coming from some rep G, as I said, rep G, in physics, in condensed matter, condensed matter physics under look for the notion of anion. So so the standard model in physics, everything is encoded as with group of symmetry, with group, and particles are given by irreducible representation. But in condensed matter physics, you can still meet fusion rings which do not come from representation of group. So it's a notion of anion. So if you are interested, you can. In some sense, it's appliqué. It's where such mathematics can be applied in physics. So theory of anion, etc. Okay, so so second remark. This is also out of the book. So second remark. So the fusion. Oh. The fusion rule do not completely characterize the category. Even, as I said, when you go to the fusion, the Grothendieck group or the Grothendieck Greek, it's like if you are semi-simple. So you can say, okay, maybe it do not completely characterize when you are not in the semi-simple case, but even in the semi-simple case, it is not a complete characterization. See the categorification problem. In fact, you can, by the way, to encode the notion of fusion rule, as I already mentioned before, it's a notion of fusion ring. And there are fusion rings which do not come from a category. And you can have a fusion ring which come from several inequivalent categories. So it's the categorification problem. Okay. Okay. So so we can extend. So now we define the product for simple object, but of course you can. So we can extend the multiplication on that as so I guess it should. So so on every object, as so yeah. Or or you can do that, or linearly from the simple one. There are two ways. So I hope this is the exercise. The same. This is equivalent. I expect. I have a doubt, in fact. Is it functorial? Well, it should be. Yeah. The tensor product is functorial for multi-ring category. So it is the same thing to define the product on an object like that, or linearly from the simple object. Anyway. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, this is equivalent by exactness. Use exactness of the tensor product. Okay, so lemma. Lemma. So the lemma is saying that A above multiplication is associative. So the multiplication defined here and then here is associative. So wait, so I am not satisfied by the way I wrote. I want to write in the other way. So I will just switch. So we can extend the multiplication on every object as by linearly. So you have so where is it? Sum of xi is equal to the sum of xi I in I, sum j in I, y xi xj equal sum of x xi y j xih. Like that. And the exercise is exercise x y equal x tensor y. And the int was use exactness of tensor product. Okay, sorry for that. But it's better like that. So, okay. So now we want to show that the multiplication, such a multiplication, is associative. So linearly, you just need to prove the associativity for simple object. So proof by linearity. We can reduce to the simple case. So yeah, hint. So reduce to the simple case. So what about, so you take three simple objects, xi, xj, xp. So you compute that. So this is sum for k in I. Xi tensor xj, xk. No, not like that. Xk, and then xp. So this is equal to sum for k in I of xi tensor xj, xk, xk, xp. So now you need to develop xkfp. So sum for I in I, xi tensor xj, xk, and sum for L in I, xk tensor xp, xl. And so you see, you can put this at the beginning. So this is equal to sum for k in I, sum for L in I, etc. You can switch L and K for L, no, not L and K, but you can switch just this and this. Everything is finite, so there's no problem. Sum for K in I. Xl. So here is the coefficient. This is a coefficient. So when we draw, so you get, so this coefficient is the following: xi, xj, xp coefficient for xl. So if you read carefully, you get, but this is nothing but the sum for ki of xi tensor xj, xk, and then xk tensor xp, xl, like that. Xk, like that. So you have this coefficient. And this is equal to, so exercise, this is equal to like that. This is just the coefficient when you do everything with tensor product. Xi, Xj, Xp, XL. So I should put this here. Like that. Yeah. Okay. So you have you have one side for the associativity. So similarly, so I just finished this proof and then we make the pause. I just need one extra line. So similarly, so you start from Xi, Xj, Xp, and you do the same thing. Here we started with this parenthesis here. Now we put here. You do the same thing, and you get Xi, Xj, Xp, XL equal to I tensor Xj, Xp, XL. And so we want this to be equal to this. We want to prove that, but this is completely characterized by all these coefficients for all L. So if all these coefficients are equal, that we are done, but they are equal because this is isomorphic to this. We are in a monoidal category. The result, and because if you have the isomorphic, the coefficient is the same, so the result follow. By the associativity of the tensor product. Xi, Xj, Xp is isomorphic to Xi, Xj, Xp. Okay, so now we make the pause. Pause. 5-minute pause. Ok, ça marche. Tu m'entends? Tu m'entends? Ouais. Ok. So it's associative. So we prove the associativity. Now, okay. So that's okay. So then, so GA, so Grothendieck is a Z plus ring. So I will define what I mean by Z plus ring with unit the one. So one Yeah. So this means a unit in the Grothendieck group. And so it is called the Grothendieck ring of C. The Grothendieck ring. So some recall about what I mean by Z plus ring. Z plus. So first, so recall. From so this is some recall from the chapter 3 of the book. So first, Z plus mean Z greater than or equal to 0, which is Z in Z such that n in Z such that n is greater than or equal to 0. So this means a non-negative integer. Okay. So what is a Z plus ring? So definition. Definition. So one, a Z plus basis of a ring is a basis B equal BI, so I in I, such that BI Bj equal to the sum for k in I Cij k bk with Cij k in Z plus, so non-negative integer. So you see this is exactly the structure we get before. The multiplication, which is exactly what we get for the multiplication of the Grothendieck group. We have something like that, because as you see, this in the Grothendieck group, this is nothing but the multiplicity. This is a multiplicity, so it's non-negative integer. So this is a Z plus basis of a ring. And so what is a Z plus ring? A Z plus ring is a ring with a fixed Z plus basis B and with identity 1 equal sum Ci Bi with where Ci are non-negative. So in general, 1 is not an element of the basis. So NCI here are not assumed to be integers. So they are not, they are just the integrality is only for the multiplication of the element of the basis. But a unital Z plus ring is a Z plus ring where 1 is in B. So in is in the Z plus basis. Yeah. So note that a Z plus ring is a free Z module. So this means that as a ring, as a module, it's just several copies of Z, in fact. This is as a module, it's just Z power N, Z power R with R. R, this is the cardinality of B, of the basis, the rank. So, yeah. Head of the form Z power R as module Z R as module, as Z module, where R equal the cardinality of B called the rank. Or the cardinality of I, it's the same thing. Okay. So and you have in the fusion in the Z plus ring, as for the the Grothendieck ring, we have the note. You can define the notation like that. Notation with some bracket like that. So Bij Bk equal Cijk. And extension by linearity. Yeah, anyway. I only need for the basis. So doesn't matter. But... Okay. So so we need an additional notion before the next proposition. Before coming back to ring category, we need to define the notion of transitive Z plus ring. Definition. So a Z plus ring with Z plus basis B is called transitive. If for all x Z in the basis, there exists y1 and y2 in the basis such that xy1z different from 0 and y2xz different from 0. So you can connect every so for any two objects, for any two elements of the basis, you can make the product on the right or on the left, from which you can recover the other. From the first, you recover the other. So it's called transitive. Anyway, so this technical notion is useful because we will need to apply the well-known Perron-Frobenius theorem. And the Perron-Frobenius theorem, you need such a notion. Proposition. So now we come back to ring category. So if C is a ring category with left dual, duals, then the Grothendieck ring is a transitive Z plus ring. So we already know it is a Z plus ring, so we just need to prove it's transitive. So transitive. So maybe I forgot something. So it's a transitive unital Z plus ring. Transitive unital Z plus ring. Stylo. Transitive unital. Okay. So proof. So unital, this is okay. So we already proved. So we already proved that in a ring category with left dual, the unit object is simple. So we proved that yesterday. So we already proved that in a ring category with left dual, the unit object is simple. So the Grothendieck ring is unital. So we also proved that the co-evaluation map is a monomorphism. So one is a simple sub-object of X tensor X star, and by Jordan Holder. By Jordan Holder, we can complete one in as a Jordan Holder filtration. As a Jordan Holder theorem. Jordan Holder filtration. So one is, so why I'm saying that? So maybe I did not write that. Did I write that in the sequence of simple object is independent of the filtration, and so which always exists, and I should add that any such any sequence and every sequence extend can be complete. Any sequence of inclusion of subobject can be complete as a Jordan Holder sequence. This is also a part of the theorem. So here, what I mean by that, I mean that here you have a sequence, and every intermediate quotient are simple. You start from 0. But if you consider every sequence of inclusion like that, even if the quotient are non-simple and here it's non-zero, you can still complete the sequence to have you can complete the sequence to have 0 and to have simple. So this is what I mean by we can complete. So for example, by what we are here, we have one, you have this sequence. So you can complete this sequence as a Jordan Holder filtration. So one is a component of X star in the Grothendieck ring. So what's the meaning of that? So then this, yeah, so then so here you have that. You have that and that. So here this is the quotient is simple, but here the quotient is not simple. So you need to complete. But anyway, so this is always possible. So then, so by definition, X is positive. So so now let Z be a simple object. So Z tensor 1 is isomorphic to Z. So Z tensor 1 coefficient of Z is equal to 1. Yeah. Yeah. So we already know we already know that we already wrote the exercise that this is independent of the isomorphism. If you have something isomorphic to that, you get the same thing. So yeah. So this is okay. And then X tensor X star tensor Z is positive. You use that, and you use the formula. This formula, where is the formula? Here. So you can use this exercise. You can write, yeah. This is equal to this. This is the exercise. Okay. So in the exercise, you have this and this. So this must be positive. Okay. So then, I forgot what we wanted to prove, in fact. We want what we want. We want transitive. Okay. Okay. So we are doing that because we want to make. We are looking for. So we fix X and Z, and we are looking for Y1, Y2 to prove the transitivity. So you have X. So X is simple. So you fix one X and you fix one Z. So you have Z simple. And X, so okay. We have X and Z, and we are looking for Y1 and Y2. So by associativity, we have X tensor X star tensor Z is equal to X tensor X star tensor Z. So there is a simple object Y1. So where is Y1? A simple object Y1. So subobject of X star. So this is equivalent to, not equivalent. Then so you have so more generally. So you have a simple object Y1 such that it's a component of X star Z in the Grothendieck ring. So this means that, and so you have, in fact, what is the point? And Z is a component of X, Y1. The point is that you by the rule of the fusion ring, you can pick a component of that such that, so you pick a component here, because this decompose, this is just a direct sum of, it's just a sum of positive sum of simple objects. So you can find one providing the positivity for Z. So this is the one so you pick one, such that you have the positivity. Okay. So we found one part, because let's recall the we get this part of the transitive. Now we need the other part, but the other part is similar. So similarly. So idem means similarly. This is a Latin word. So the tensor x star x z positive, so etc. There exists y2 such that y2 tensor x c positive. And here you need to be a bit careful, because here we don't use a monomorphism but an epimorphism. So you so let me write that small. So so x star x1 different from 0, because you have the epimorphism. The evaluation map is an epimorphism. So evaluation map, epimorphism. And so you complete. So you have the exact sequence like that. One. With x star tensor x over y equal 1. So that's why you get 1 in the Jordan-Holder sequence. 1 is the simple object coming from, because then here you have an inclusion. So you can make a Jordan-Holder sequence, and we will get 1 as a simple object of the Jordan-Holder sequence. So that's why this is non-zero. And then you can just apply the same argument, and you get the other way. Okay. So so this is okay. So we are done with this. Theorem. So we proved that the Grothendieck ring of a ring category is transitive, unital. And this is exactly what we need to apply the Frobenius-Perron theorem. So I will not state the Frobenius-Perron theorem, but I will just state the corollary of that here. The Frobenius-Perron theorem is stated and proved in the chapter 3 of the book. But Frobenius-Perron theorem is a really, really well-known theorem. This was proved by Perron and Frobenius more than 100 years ago. So this is really well-known. So theorem. But we can use the Frobenius-Perron theorem to define the notion of Frobenius-Perron dimension. So it's a theorem definition. Theorem definition. So it's both a theorem and a definition because the definition states some aspects which need to be proved. We will not prove that, but it's just an application of the Frobenius-Perron theorem, which is well known. So let A be a transitive unital Z plus ring. So exactly what we proved for a ring category, but we need it to be of finite rank. So the basis is finite. So let X an element of the basis. So you define the matrix X MX defined to be the fusion matrix. So by fusion matrix, I mean given the one, given by left multiplication. In other words, MX is the matrix X, Y, Z with the entry Y, Z, like that. So it should be written like that. Y, Z, Y, Z in B. So this matrix. So this is a definition of the theorem. So then the theorem says then this matrix MX has a positive So wait. Transitive unital. Yeah, as a positive eigenvalue. As positive eigenvalues. So eigenvalues. Okay, and let f p dim of x be the maximal eigenvalue, such eigenvalue. Such eigenvalue which is it is also the matrix norm of matrix norm. And it's called, yeah, so in fact, we don't really need to state this as a theorem. You just need to state this as a definition. If you just call that the matrix norm, and then the theorem is that this matrix norm is the maximal. So let me restate that as a definition. Like that. definition. So that, so it's okay. So FPDIM of X, the matrix norm. This is just a definition. And theorem. FPDIM of X is an eigenvalue. So this is positive. Positive is an eigenvalue of mx. So it's a positive. Is a positive eigenvalue of mx. And in fact, because it's not the norm, it must be the biggest, the maximal one. So like that is better. And the proof. So above, I wrote above FPDIM because I need, in the term, I need the assumption. I need transitive unital Z plus ring. Yeah. So so it's okay. And so I forgot to write something. So the proof. This is come from Frobenius-Perron theorem. Theorem. Is a book, section 3.2. So this is well known. So Perron proved that in this year, and Frobenius. This is well known and really useful in many subjects. So, and so wait. And theorem. So wait. Okay. So the theorem is also saying that in fact we need, so you have so I did not. So you have a ring homomorphism. We also have a ring homomorphism so FP dim from A to C from the linear extension from the element of B. So FPDIM is defined on the basis, but you can extend it to all the transitive unital Z plus ring, and it's an homomorphism, so it's also a theorem. It induced theorem FP dim induce a ring homomorphism like that as a linear extension from the element of the basis. Okay. So I guess we can stop here. So the proof is also see the book for the proof. So we can stop here for now. Let me mention that in the I have no time to write that, but in the representation category of a finite group, the Frobenius parent dimension of the irreducible representation are exactly the dimension of the object. So an irreducible representation is a simple object of the representation, and its Frobenius parent dimension is exactly its dimension. So okay, so we can stop here. We can stop here. Yeah.